Guys, today I'm sharing with you one of my best hunter builds for Trials of Osiris. This is one of those builds that comes prepared for any type of problem. Whether I'm having issues dealing with players sitting on a rift, Titans sitting behind a barricade, players holding hands too often, or playing way too aggressive, this setup can handle almost every single situation. I'm very excited to share you this updated explosive Scorch hunter build because sometimes it feels like when I'm using Stasis or Strand, I might just be having a little bit too much fun with my builds and I need something with more fire. So what do you say? Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, let's take a look at my stats. Starting from the top, we have 154 health. So in the past, I've said that 150 is the sweet spot, and I still believe that, especially for builds like this that require stat distributions to be pretty good across the board. For melee, we have 70 melee stat points. Yes, hunters now need to dodge near a target with a minimum of 50 melee to get a full melee charge back inside a crucible. So I've tested this, and personally, I think 70 to 80 melee is a sweet spot if you don't want to get close and personal near targets. Since I've played hunter in the past for many years and have always had this habit of dodging near a target, it's not a problem at all. It just feels like we went back to normal, but you can still get more melee energy back, so that's nice. Next up, we have the grenade stat. I'm rocking 80 grenades here. It's pretty important because we have a wombo combo in this build that is a really nice trump card. Next up, we have 90 intellect. Me playing solo queue, playing trios. I tend to always get my super, especially if I get a sweaty game. So for a player like me, running a minimum of 90 intellect is very important. But if you're playing so many of your trials games where you feel like you're never actually going to get a super regardless of how high the stat is, then I encourage you to not invest too much into it. The next stat is the class. I have 92 stat points. More class stats means more dodges, and that also means more melee energy as I play the game. The last stat is weapons, and I'm only rocking 21 here, ignoring this one for sure. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about my subclass and the abilities. The stars of the show here are going to be the proximity explosive knife and the fusion grenade. So let's go ahead and break down the proximity knife. You're gonna throw it, it's going to attach to the walls, to the ground, to the target, whatever. If someone gets nearby, it's going to activate that melee, it will explode and deal some damage. This will work with your fragments, but also will work with the exotic that is featured in this build, Caliban's Hand. So basically all you need to know right now before we do a full breakdown of that exotic is that it applies Scorch to this melee now. Why this is a big deal, and I mean a really big deal, is because Scorch has become one of the most dominant and powerful abilities inside of Crucible. I swear, ever since we changed from the recovery stat to the new health stat, Scorch has just been so oppressive. I need you to think back to all the trials matches that you've had against an incendiary grenade or warlocks throwing celestial fire across the map, and you are burning and it feels like you can never regenerate your health. Even if you run 200 health, you're like, yo, why is it taking an entire Crucible game to get my HP back? So normally the only ways to really apply Scorch consistently, to really spam it, is you have to run incendiary grenades or some other type of grenade that applies Scorch. But we completely break that rule by using that exotic, and now this explosive knife applies Scorch, which means any damage that this melee deals to a target, they won't regenerate that for a good amount of time. They're out of the fight for a little bit. And before we talk about the wombo combo, I just want to make it clear, this build is mainly focusing on you throwing knives and using them strategically to stop revives, to hurt someone around a corner, to just stop a push. It's not entirely about the wombo combo ignition. That's where a lot of people get lost in this build. They solely focus on just throwing tool abilities for one kill, the potential multi-kill. You want to mainly focus on using this knife as a trip mine, basically. Okay, so for grenade options, I'm using the fusion grenade. Pretty different compared to what you would normally see on a solar hunter build, because we would use trip mines, and if you wanted the ignition, you would use an incendiary, right? So whether you go fusion or incendiary grenade, there's really no wrong option here. It will be preference. But if you want my professional opinion here, all my experience across multiple trials games and different maps, fusion grenades are so cracked They feel like the most hit scan possible grenade in the game, especially for players that like to peek shot around corners. This grenade is just really fast. It will hit a target, deal good damage, and it will apply the necessary scorch to get an ignition if you combo it with the proximity knife. Seriously, you got to practice a fusion nades, they're cracked. So let's move on to the aspects. We have the knock 'em down. We're simply using this to enhance the benefits of my supers. Usually I find myself using the golden gun marksman nowadays because the duration of it is so long and it has a lot more strategic advantages instead of trials, where you can sit on the zone and the players are just confused on what to do because you have a golden gun for so long and you can capture it before they can even make a play. A nice little side benefit here is the fact that if I'm radiant and I get a knife kill from that wombo combo, if I clean somebody up, I will get a full melee energy back. The next aspect is on your mark. So this one's awesome because if I'm getting close and personal to dodge so I can get my melee back, every time that I dodge, I'm giving myself a handling bonus to my weapons, and I need that. That handling bonus is great for close quarter actions to be super snappy and reactive to the enemy players nearby. At the moment, getting precision kills will also make me radiant if I have full stacks. We're about to move on to the fragments, but I just want to say something real quick. Regardless of whatever is changing for Hunter, buffs, nerfs, reworks for the aspects and the abilities, everything's already been considered for, and you're good to go with these abilities. So for the fragments, starting off, we got Ember of Searing. Defeating scorched targets grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. This one is a banger because not only do we get plus 10 class stats, we get melee energy from fire sprites, and that fire sprite also gives us grenade energy. So we get cooldowns for the entire kit. Next up, we got Ember of Mercy, mainly using this for the health stat, but it comes in super clutch whenever you play Trials of Osiris and you revive a teammate, both of you getting restoration, or if you pick up a fire sprite also granting you restoration. It can be pretty clutch to get out of tricky situations. The next fragment is Ember of Beams, mainly using this for the plus 10 super, but it does enhance the target acquisition of your supers, and this is mostly noticeable on Blade Barrage. It feels like it will whiff less. Next up, we got Ember of Torches. This is very important fragment because landing a powered melee hit will grant you radiant. The last fragment is Ember of Ashes, and this is really important, especially to get that secret trump card, the tactical nuke wombo combo from your explosive knife and your fusion grenade. You usually need to run this fragment if you want to apply enough scorch stacks, but even without the ignition, there's value here in the sense that your abilities, if you hit a melee just on one target, no wombo combo, you do apply more scorch, which means that timer needs to run a little bit longer for them to be at 0 scorch stacks. So you can see how important using the proximity knife is and how much value we have in that scorch effect. Caliban's hand really just makes everything possible. The proximity knife will scorch targets. If you defeat them with the knife, it will actually cause an ignition. If you throw the proximity knife and it's just sitting there not hitting anybody, you actually get increased melee regeneration speed. Being able to have scorch on an ability that is really fast, difficult to spot, and it just stays there for a while to grant scorch on the target and free radiant, honestly is so clutch. I love the opportunities of being able to do a wombo combo too. I especially do this when I see a Titan or a Warlock sitting on a rift. That just looks at the prime situation to just throw the knife and then you follow up with a grenade. That combo is really important. If you're trying to replicate that as fast as possible, you have to throw the knife first and then the grenade. Without the exotic, you couldn't do the ignitions, and that's why it's so special. Again, I have to remind you to not get tunnel vision on the tactical nuke ignition. The scorch from the proximity knife really is the play here, and it has so much value for this entire build. One way that I take advantage of it is by doing the new shotgun hand cannon meta. Originally, you would do the combination of shooting a target with the shotgun hand cannon and you throw a knife, right? The lightweight knives, we know about this. We've died to it a couple times, and Bungie tried to nerf it. Well, they failed. And whether they fix that problem in the future, I don't know. But this is a new strategy that is about throwing the melee first and then receiving benefits on the shotgun hand cannon afterwards. One of the ways that I've shown you in the past was a threaded spike hits a target, you got trench barrel procced on the shorty, and then you can get a one-shot kill. It's a similar thing here. You have the throwing knife out, you have the shotgun prepared, and if someone walks over it, boom, this shotgun hand cannon now has radiant and Trench Barrel proc, you are going to one tap somebody so hard they are going to question what just happened. One good thing I want to share is that I finally got the perfect 5 out of 5 god roll on my Ares neutralizer. Take a look at this. This is the final version of the neutralizer. Barrel Shroud, Acarize, Handling Masterwork, Enhanced Range, Lone Wolf, Trench Barrel. It's an absolute beast. Somehow being able to get the perfect stats of range and handling on the shotgun just made it even better for me. On this build, I also like to run the Igneous Hammer 120 hand cannon. The variant that I like to run is Keep Away with Precision Instrument. Sometimes I like to use Celerity for the bonus handling, so maybe you have this in your vault. If you've never gotten an Igneous Hammer, well, cross your fingers that they bring a tier 5 version soon. The reason we're doing a solar weapon here with Precision Instrument is Radiant plus PI will eventually stack up to a potential 2-tap, but this being a solar weapon, getting the Radiant benefits helps me take advantage of Radiant Shrapnel in my artifact class, and this mod is absolutely nuts. If you have not been using this as a solar subclass player, what are you doing? This Scorch ability is crazy. People are going to be so annoyed playing against that. All right, so if you've seen the subclass, the weapons, my exotic of choice, you probably want to look at my armor set, the archetypes to see how I achieved the stats. So let's go ahead and take a look. My helmet is a brawler. You can see the stats here. We got the Caliban's hand. We got my chest piece here with Bulwark. My boots are Grenader archetype, and then my cloak is Bulwark archetype. If you played Solstice a lot, you probably have access to the Solstice armor, which would be a crazy addition to this build because when you receive healing from the restoration, your solar weapons will get enhanced flinch resistance and handling. Those benefits are nice, but on top of that, using solar weapons, you're gonna get healed. So that's a big W. Now I want to take a look at my mod configuration. This one is way more simple, less complicated to build out, which is nice because I don't have to think too hard about how to build this character. Starting on the helmet, we got 2 solar targeting mods because I'm using Igneous Hammer, but typically you would use the element matching your preferred primary weapon. One mod here that I do recommend that I've been using a lot more, it feels like my little secret to get an edge in trials games that are sweaty, is the Dynamo mod. Since I'm constantly getting near targets because I play close quarters or I'm trying to get a full refund of my melee energy, Dynamo here is going to grant me more super energy if I'm near a target. As I mentioned in the past on my Strand Hunter build, you can get a lot of super energy from that one dodge, and sometimes it's comparable if not more super energy than an actual primary kill. Next up on my gauntlets, I'm running 2 dexterity mods, one for solar, one for the kinetic, and again this is going to be matching your preferred weapon types. There is one mod here that I do recommend using, and that's Fastball. This is almost a requirement when using that fusion grenade because that's what helps it give that hit scan feeling to the grenade. On the chest piece, nothing special. We just got anti-flinch mods matching the weapons. On my boots, I'm running 2 athletic mods, and if you did not watch my Strand Hunter build in the past, basically I put 2 of these mods to the test against Stompies, and the result was that it felt like I had Stompies built in on my builds now. For Hunter, if I ran 2 of these mods, the jump was higher, if not comparable to a single base jump of Stompies, and the double jump too. So seriously, give it a try. I think it's worth it. And the last mod here is Innervation. I pick up an orb, I get a grenade, but honestly, I might just swap this out for another athletic mods because we're not trying to make orbs on this build. Instead, we're using a distribution mod. It's not Reaper, so whenever I do darts near a target, I get more ability cooldowns, and this applies to the melee, this applies to grenades, this applies to dodge. I find value in that. And then I got 2 bomber mods so that I can get my fusion grenade back faster. The last thing we'll cover here is the artifact, and earlier we briefly talked about Radiant Shrapnel. I stated that the little Helion projectiles that track players are pretty annoying because they apply Scorch, they have good tracking, it will weaken targets so that you have easier cleanups. Some other mods I want to give a shout out to are Fever and Chill. If you use a solar weapon, you can self-proc Radiant, and if you have Radiant, you can get faster grenade cooldowns because we have the artifact mod Shield Crush, and that's pretty much it.